Hey guys, this is Travis. I'm going to go show you some Phonto Basics. So first, you can select an image from the photo album. And if you do that, so I'm just going to pick this random picture of the UFT building. So there you go. If you just want to use a plain image like that, that's how you would do it. However, we're going to use rather plain images instead of one of the photos. So there's plenty of default backgrounds in there. However, there are also templates that you can create yourself. One that I've enjoyed using is this pretty simple one with a red background and a white text bubble. Now, if you want to change the colors, you can. So I just changed one of those reds to a black. You can either do it by clicking on colors, or you can just adjust the colors. So you want a green text bubble, go for it. But I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel and stick with the original that I'm used to. So I'm going to mostly just show you guys how to mess around with text on here. So just to start off with that, you just kind of tap and you can type something up. So I'm just going to type more summer convention, and you can adjust the alignment as well from here. You can mess with the style a little bit. So right now I'm just messing with the colors because it was just white. So I want to make sure you guys can see the changes as they happen. Notice that I can also adjust the opacity with that alpha dial on there. I can also use that part on the bottom with color patterns. You can have your own default color patterns as well as patterns that come preloaded to give you an idea of what some of the color differences look like. You can also just, if you take a look at the top, you can see where it says horizontal with a C in parentheses. So that means that every other letter will be changing based on that. And you can see there is the vertical and horizontal gradients, as well as a word by word gradient. So I usually like to use the horizontal one because it usually comes out better if I use more than one line of text. So you can also add a stroke around it, so it's just a border around the text. I usually reduce it to about 3 width with a text like this, but you can always make it wider if you need to. You can also put a background in here. So if you wanted to have it kind of look more like a label, you can do that. I usually don't do that though. So I just adjusted the alpha to 0 to get rid of it. You can also add shadows around the text. You can do this without adding that background stroke as well, if you just want to give it a glowing effect or a shadow effect. And just notice that I can't really pick my colors out here, so that's why I just kind of scrolled to the left and the right to show you that. And one other thing to keep in mind is, yes, there are some defaults. You can see the more hazy ones, the ones with the bigger shadow. But if you adjust the X and the Y, you can also just position it wherever you want. So if you want it to be really far off and have that separate letter effect, you can do it that way as well. But if you keep it about 15 and 15, it should mostly drop below the text pretty smoothly. Again, you can adjust the opacity with that alpha tool. And you can make it either very blurry to kind of give it a cool effect, or you can turn that blur off and let it just be a solid color. All right, so then you can also adjust the spacing. This is usually if you have like a really blocky font that gets stuck together really easily, or if you just want to create an effect. You can also adjust the space between lines by length as well. And if you do it too closely, of course, it'll just be on top of each other. So just keep that in mind as well. There's this underline tool here, but I never really see it. I think that's if you have a font that specifically has that. And then last, you have these blend tools. You'll notice that it doesn't really show very much on this white background for some of them. A lot of these blend tools actually will blend more into a photo than they will on a plain white background. You just sort of have to mess around with them to see which ones will look good and which ones won't. So again, I mentioned the centering. You can also pick from things that are apart from your emojis that you can place into font. You can also add in some of these other little characters. And there is also some default things you could add in there, like the date. So you just see the instructions there if you want to do that. You can also change fonts now. There's a ton of fonts that come with this, over 200. However, if you want to install your own fonts, you can hit that My Fonts area. And if you scroll to the bottom, it'll just tell you exactly how to do it. So I'm not going to go through that now, but it's very straightforward. So here are just a couple of the different fonts that I have available. I'm also just going to kind of mess around and show you how it could also look different, again, by using the spacing differently. And this is where you might want to adjust the spacing by line more than you would by letter, just if you would want to make it closer. So you also have these fonts that will have some clear background by default, just because that's the way the font is designed. And you can see I'm just messing around with like Joker Man and some of these silly fonts like the Simpsons font. So if you wanted to have a Simpsons font, or if you want to make kind of almost a parody image, you can do that using this program as well. You just have to make sure that you're using the font licenses appropriately. Since this is considered for personal use, right? I'm just using this because I'm showing you what I get out of it. I'm not breaking any rules right now, okay? So, keeping all of that in mind, you have some other filters here as well. You can, of course, adjust the size by going up and down. There's also the tilt tool, so if you wanted to make the text go 90 degrees differently, or you want to turn it upside down, you want to have it go diagonally, however you want to do it, you can do that way. Now, for the curve tool, if you were to do that, it'll just sort of automatically force you to move over. I'm just going to also show you real quick the move tool. You also are able to select specific positions you want the text to fall into. You can hit center, however you want to do it. All right, so the curve tool is actually pretty cool. You can make that kind of full circle if you want to, or just a quick little almost rainbow shape, but you can also curve it in either direction if you so desire. And this is one of the paid for tools that I opted to pay for. It is $1, so if you don't feel like springing on that, I totally get it. But I enjoy making some of the 3D fonts sometimes, although I just want to also show you guys, if you overdo it, it'll look kind of funny. And so one last thing to show you guys. Now this is not something I often do, but if you wanted to make sure you got all the same settings out of something, you could duplicate text. And this one, you got to be careful with. If you really wanted to kind of mess with an image and put a big eraser in it, you can do that with a font. However, after you do this, you cannot edit the text. So I don't really see the point in this eraser tool, but some people see value in it. So I'm just sharing that you can use it if you want to. All right, so that's really a bunch of the basics. Now I'm just going to show you guys how you would use an image in Phonto. So you notice I just hit add image, made it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to notice, oh man, when I took the screenshot, there's like a little line in there. So I'm going to add an item, and it comes up as a square, but I can adjust the size of it and just make it a really thin rectangle that will cover that line, so I don't have to go back and take a new screenshot of this tweet. Okay, so here we are. I have the tweet how I like it. So now I'm going to save this, and I just hit save. There'll be like a 5-second ad. I'll hit OK, and that's about it, guys. That's a little bit of basics about Phonto.